Welcome to the Well Woman Show, where motivated women achieve fulfillment and well-being.
You're listening to the Well Woman Show.
You're listening to the Well Woman Show.
You're going to be in for a good ride.
I'm a woman. I would prefer to tell my own story. My story, though it's very personal, is universal.
You're listening to the Well Woman Show. And now your host, Giovanna Rossi.
Hello, Well Women. Happy Wednesday. If you're listening to this as the podcast publishes, it is Well Woman Wednesday, and we publish on Wednesdays because of Well Woman Wednesday. We thought it would be a great kind of break in the week for you to reflect on how you're doing with your Well Woman self. And, partway through the week is always kind of a slog, or it can be. And so Well Woman Wednesday is a sort of a reminder for all of you that you have a support system. You are able to work towards your goals and create the life that you want, the Well Woman life. And on the show today, we're going to talk a little bit about what that is. I really wanted to record this for you today because I have been, as you know, on this show, if you've listened to past episodes, I talk a lot about superpowers and kind of the interaction of our internal superpowers and external circumstances or supports. On the show today, I'm going to talk about the 4 stages of our Well Woman life and really, support you, give you some tools to figure out where you are in the Well Woman life cycle, with the goal of really helping you address some of the challenges and obstacles and fears and other things that are in your way. And as Well Women, we are often movers and shakers, high achievers, status quo challengers, and we do all of this and also maintain some sort of resemblance of a put together life. And a lot of times it's actually really, really challenging to keep it up, right? To keep up the momentum, the pace, achieve all of our goals, connect deeply with the people we love and that love us, and move forward in our professional lives and make the impact we want to make in the community. So today we're going to talk about the 4 stages of the Well Woman life cycle. And I'm going to walk you through all 4. And then in the show notes at wellwomanlife.com/169 show, we will put links to different episodes that will help you use this information. Like we have a goal setting and a visioning episode that will be really helpful if you're wanting to really dig into this. So before I go on, if you have not taken the quiz, I highly recommend doing that. Either press pause and go take the quiz real quick, or if you're not in a place to be able to do that, just go ahead and listen through to the show and then you can do it later. It's at wellwomanlife.com/quiz. I've had so much feedback recently on this quiz that I really wanted to make sure everybody had the chance to experience it. Basically, there are a lot of these kind of like quick quizzes and surveys and personality tests and stuff. That's not what this is. This is a very shortened version of the way that we identify where you are in the Well Woman life cycle so that we can support you with tools and resources to move through the different stages of really difficult challenges. And so what we do is we ask these 2 questions, and then based on how you answer, you get information about where you are. And so I'm going to talk about those 4 stages. You can go and do the quiz so that you can follow along, or you can do it later. I love this because what we're doing is we're really looking at the intersection of your internal resources and strengths, which we sometimes call superpowers on the show. So the intersection of those with external supports and circumstances. External meaning things outside of you personally. So things in your family, your relationships, your work, your community, your home, anything sort of external. And that includes structural and systemic, political, and even global issues. So the reason I love this is because I really, when I was delving deep into personal development and self-help work, I discovered that I really didn't like how a lot of the self-help industry kind of focuses just on the individual and says, if you do this work and this mindset work and this, and I love mindset work, don't get me wrong, but if you do all of this work, you individually, you alone are responsible for, everything in your life. And it really didn't account or take into account external circumstances, which on the Well Woman Show, we talk about a lot. And so to not include those as a factor in how we operate in the world really didn't make sense to me. And so I'm talking about things like oppressive systems. I'm talking about cultural things that impact us. I'm talking about policies that impact us. And I just am not from the point of view of just, do your own work and everything else will work out. No, we have a responsibility to participate in how it all works out. So anyway, back to the 4 stages. Well, I guess where I was going with that was the way that this works is that it really takes into account both the internal strengths and resources that you have and the external. So that's why it is very unique and different. And so I'll walk you through the 4 stages. Hopefully by the end of this, you'll have enough information to really kind of see where you might be stuck or where your challenges might be with what you're trying to create for yourself and for the world. We'll be right back. This episode of The Well Woman Show is brought to you by Collective Action Strategies, supporting organizations that support women and families, and by Well Woman Life Movement Challenge Quiz, your resource for living your best life. If you're in burnout or major transition, this is your time to figure out what's holding you back from making the changes you need to make in order to live your fullest, most joyful life. The cause of all of our challenges, personal or professional, can actually be rooted in the lack of internal superpowers and or external supports. Our Well Woman Life framework tells you which stage of the Well Woman life cycle you're in and what to do about it so you can truly live your best life. You can find out more at wellwomanlife.com/quiz. I'm so thankful for support from Natural Awakenings Magazine in New Mexico, a monthly green, healthy lifestyle publication, and for support from High Desert Yoga, promoting optimum physical health, clarity of mind, and spiritual inspiration for all. We're back on the Well Woman Show. Okay, so I'm going to start with responsive stage. And the responsive stage is, if you're looking at the framework, it's that circle, and you can find that, I think it's on the website at wellwomanlife.com/quiz, but you don't need to have it in front of you. It's the responsive stage. I also refer to this stage as burnout. This is the stage where you're very quick to react to external stimuli. It's very expansive. It's very fast. You're out in the world a lot. It can be a stage of major burnout. You're not going inside very much. You're out, if that makes sense to you. Your external supports are very high because you've been saying yes to a lot and making a lot happen. So you have a very active life with your family or your career, your business or your friends or all of those. But what's happening is that while you are out, external, everything's external, your internal resources are really low because you've let some of your practices slip, or maybe you never had them in place to begin with. The other reason your resources could be low is you're not prioritizing self-care, and you begin to second guess everything because you're not in tune with your inner wisdom. So that only adds to the burnout. So this is a really difficult stage to realize that you're in, because in order to notice it, you have to slow down, right? So it's a little bit of a conundrum, which is why the quiz is actually really helpful, because it'll let you know right away where you are. So that is the responsive stage. Okay. And with each of these stages that I'm going to go through, and there's 4, with each stage, there's the stage and the description of the stage, which I just went through for responsive. Then there is the universal superpower for the stage, which means that's the superpower you need to cultivate in order to move through it. And then there are like tools and themes for that stage, for cultivating that superpower. So there's a lot more information on this when you actually go and do the quiz, but I just want to give you the 4 stages so that you really have an idea about what we're talking about. So that was responsive. The second stage I want to talk about is passive. So the passive stage I also refer to as lingering. And it's interesting. It's called passive. It doesn't mean that you're not doing anything, like passive in the negative sense. You know, sometimes we think as high achievers, like being passive is really not a good thing. But I'm going to flip that on its head here and say, this is a stage in which you're going inside, you're contracting, you are just being or lingering. It can be a really dark stage, which could include depression. And your internal resources are pretty low because you have not been keeping up with some of your practices. You're not prioritizing yourself, and you're definitely not in tune with your inner voice, your inner wisdom. And at the same time, your external supports are really low because you've pulled back on a lot of things with your family, your career, your business, your friends, and you no longer have a lot of that support in place, or it's needing to shift. So for high achievers, this is a really hard stage to be in, and it's a hard stage to identify that you're in because we immediately want to move out of it, right? Like, it's not a comfortable place to be. And we can end up in this stage for a very short time, or we can end up here for kind of a long time. So that really depends. And we, as high achievers, we tend to want to move out of it quickly and into action. But the point of this is that that's the exact opposite of what's needed. So what's needed here is time and space to linger. And a lot of times that means you creating that space for yourself. So if that sounds familiar, if you're like, ooh, that sounds like me right now, that's okay. We all are in this stage at different points. And just knowing and recognizing it is, part of the process. So that is the passive stage. Now, in order to learn the superpower you need to develop in that stage, which is intuition and some of the tools, that's a longer conversation and a longer episode. But for right now, I am just going through the 4 stages. So the third stage is the active stage. This is also, I refer to this as transition. It can be a stage of change in which you're transitioning from the small, closed, fearful you to the big, open, loving you. And it's an exciting stage because you're a powerhouse with an open road to making the changes you want to see in your life. Here, your internal resources are high because you've been working hard on yourself. You've integrated healthy habits into your life, like meditation, yoga, or other ways to self-reflect and re-energize. However, your external supports are low. Your external supports or circumstances are low because things with your family, career, business, or friends are not optimal. And you haven't completed the shift or the change necessary to build up those supports. And that is exactly what you will do in this stage. That's why you're in it. It's called active because you are going to cultivate and hone in on the superpower in this stage, which is action, or aligned action, as I like to say, aligned with what you're, making sure that you're in tune with your inner wisdom and building up the supports that you need. So this stage, as I said, is called active stage. It's the most exciting stage, I think, for high achievers because it's where we're like really making stuff happen. So if this sounds like you, awesome. if you're jumping ahead and getting to this stage before you've done the other work, warning, warning, you might not want to do that, because when we do that, we tend to make decisions we might regret, or we just do things that are not in our highest and best interests. So you'll want to really, figure out whether this is the right stage for you. Okay, so moving on to the fourth and final stage, which is receptive. So the receptive stage I also refer to as flow. This is an open, loving stage where you're mostly in flow and not pushing hard, not hunting anymore or at war with your life. Your internal resources are high because you've been working hard on yourself. You've integrated healthy habits into your life, and you have figured out ways to self-reflect and re-energize. And at the same time, your external supports or circumstances are at a high level because you've made decisions based on your inner knowing or wisdom. And you've curated your life, your work, your friends, so that they support you. This is an amazing stage to be in. You've found ways to be resilient in the face of challenges and setbacks. You are on fire. If this sounds like you, well, woman, then awesome. This is a really fun stage to be in. And I will say, though, it is it's still a lot of work, right? Because in order to maintain flow, we have to really be on top of our self-care, our mindset, our gratitude practice, implementing a lot of the tools that we've learned along the way. So it doesn't mean sitting back and being like, all right, cool, I'm done. It actually means that there's a lot more work, but it's fun because you're in flow and you're just really wanting to maintain that and grow that. So there is a superpower for this stage, which helps you maintain that. And I go into that in a lot more detail in the quiz. And so if you are interested in how these 4 stages work, which stage you're in, and by the way, you can be in a different stage depending on the challenge that you're facing. So definitely head over to wellwomanlife.com/quiz to figure out where you are and to get more tools and information. And again, everything will be posted at wellwomanlife.com/169show. And I'll talk to you at the next episode. That's it for our show today. Remember, if you need support to live your Well Woman life, head over to wellwomanlife.com/Facebook to join us. Our monthly live event, Well Woman Drinks, brings women together to share our successes and challenges as women, leaders, moms, aunts, sisters, and all the other roles we carry. If you'd like to attend a Well Woman Drinks near you, or if there isn't one in your city yet and you'd like to start one, email info@wellwomanlife.com. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment and subscribe in iTunes and leave a review. This helps raise visibility, which is super helpful when it comes to producing the show every week. For feedback, comments, or just to let me know you were listening today, find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram @WellWomanLife. I'm Giovanna Rossi for The Well Woman Show. Until next time, have a super powerful week.